In terms of trying to cope with being a rheumatologist and becoming a patient under the same specialty, it was very challenging. It was quite overwhelming as well, because when you have too much knowledge of what's going on, that wasn't helpful, but equally I was also a patient. So there were times that I didn't think like a patient when I should have. I started to tell the occupational health people I could drive for for X amount, and I could write for 10 minutes as well, so can I come back to work? It took me 2 hours virtually to drive a 20-minute distance, because I had to stop every 10 minutes because the legs would go heavy and dead, and it took me about 40 minutes to walk from the car park to the ward. But yet I was so driven to be there doing something that the times that I was not at work, I would go home and sit very still because my hands were so achy. So it was a challenge, let's say, until it was a long road. But when things really progressed and all my symptoms came out after about 2.5 years, and I had to give up being in the training program and give up my career, it was almost all my dreams were shattered, and it sort of went out of the window, and I felt completely powerless, and I couldn't control the direction my life was heading, and the illness really distorted my image, my identity, who I was as a person, because everything was about the illness and the condition, and I did not have how to deal with it user guide. And it was just not me dealing with what was going on physically and the medication, but it was me dealing with multiple layers at once. I really lost myself to a point, but then I realized I cannot control how the illness is going on. I can't control my day or my symptoms, but I can control what I create. And that gave me a sense of purpose, sense of achievement, and it really helped me to regain some of that control, and it was a turning point for me. In terms of what type of AAV I have, I didn't fit into a particular box. I was one of those atypical presentations where my blood tests were negative, but I was having symptoms which are related. My symptoms were mostly nerve related, so I've had various nerve palsies. I've had a facial palsy, foot drops on many occasions, wrist drops on many occasions, and I also have my autonomic nervous system affected. On the scans, they found that I've got lesions on the left side, so my symptoms were mostly on the right. I've also had continuous microscopic, I've had blood in the urine dipsticks throughout, since my presentation to now. I've had episodes where I've coughed up blood, I've got sinusitis, nasal crusting, and also perhaps a little bit different to some, but when I continuously use my hands and legs, they fatigue very quickly. They become numb, dead, and painful, so I have to stop every so often. So that sort of claudic symptoms, and that's probably one of the reasons why initially they weren't sure which type of vasculitis that I was, I belonged to. So combating fatigue and pain, how do I cope with it, was something that I was struggling with initially, and I think a lot of patients who have either joint pains, nerve pain, any type of pain, who have ankle vasculitis, who also have fatigue. This is something, there is no drug for fatigue. There's no medication. How do you cope with it? And for me, sometimes when I'm completely in bed, recharging as I call it, I have an app on my phone that I just put all these feelings into color and shape, and that really helps me to capture the energies that I'm going through in that color and shape, and that helps me it distracts me or takes the focus away even for a few minutes. And that's why I think for anyone who's newly diagnosed or going through this journey, having a tool, be it art, be it music, be it cooking, be it gardening, be it anything, having a tool on top of the other treatments and therapies is something that is very, very useful, comes in handy to deal with day-to-day challenges, let's say, and face them. When it comes to what are my hopes in 5 years' time, well, I really would like to have patients get a better awareness in terms of what it's like to live with a long-term condition, and I would really like the health teams to start seeing the person behind the illness, the face behind it all, and try to bridge the gap between the biomedical focus and the human focus, so that I think, and for them to facilitate patients to express their illness experience, be it art, be it from using any form of expression. I think that would help them to get a deeper understanding of the effect that these illnesses have on a person's identity, image, and self-worth. And I think there is, in terms of even for medical students, for them to get a better idea of what patients actually go through.